Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Heather. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. You bet. I'm glad to have somebody from not in the north joining One North.
Some of us South people need some of that cooler weather, so we come to these sessions hoping that they'll just throw some our way.
Not too cool. Not
It's
too cool
it's
here right now.
95 degrees here today. Heat index
I'm
is
sorry,
over
how much?
95.
Try 105.
Oof.
Yeah, with 90% humidity.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yes.
Well,
It's
I got a
nasty.
call last night. One of my rental properties, the AC went out, but that was to be expected,
Fun.
I guess. So it's that time of the year. Yeah. All right, we'll give people a couple more minutes, let a few more jump in. Excited to talk about this today, though. Listings are tough to come by right now, so any strategies that anyone can come up with is always a benefit, just to have some additional options. And this is one of these things that, man, there's a million different ways to do all kinds of different things. Consistency is key with all of it. It's just, we can try a million different things. We try doing a bunch of little things, and we try them once. It's not going to work if you do it once, but if you do pretty much any of these ideas over and over again, you will be successful.
Yeah, I think focus is really key. You can't kind of jump from one to another unless you're going to try to do one consistently and then layer another one in. And part of that is the ability to track it and its effectiveness. If you can't do it over and over, you don't really know whether you just got lucky or whether this tactic works.
Definitely. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is the One North webinar. We do these every other week. Myself, Austin Eaton. We host this for you guys to just give a little bit of additional information, things that we've learned, things that people have taught us, coached us, that we can then pass on to you. This is also supposed to be very much a group environment. We want collaboration here. We want cameras on, people giving their input, asking questions, giving advice, because we don't know everything by any means, and we can also take help from all of you, because together we can all be a lot better. So today we are going to be talking about finding listings in a low inventory market like we're in pretty much across the nation right now. Austin, what do you think, man?
I think it's really important to get in front of people, or get their captive information or captive attention in order to identify whether they're looking to sell now or down the road. And so conversations are key, however you want to have them. I find number one most effective for me is open houses. Nosy neighbors are gold. And some people don't pay attention to nosy neighbors. I think it's really key to pose yourself as an expert in the neighborhood. So when the nosy neighbor comes to you, you have some information that they don't have, or at least confirm suspicions that they might have. So, if you're doing open houses, which I would recommend, be prepared and be ready to talk to nosy neighbors. Some people kind of turn their back on them. I think they're gold.
Yeah, I think open houses are honestly one of the best ways to get additional listings and just additional business overall. I mean, I know several agents, one on my team, Casey, she does really phenomenal open houses. And there is a lot more with open houses that we can do than, just hosting an open house. There's the door knocking that you can do beforehand. There is the private VIP open house that's just for the neighbors. That's something that we've had a ton of success with, because inviting them in an hour before the public open house, blocking that off so no other, tours can be booked during that time, allowing them to come in, peek inside their neighbor's house, be nosy, do all of that, allows for a little bit better of conversations. You're not going to have those random buyers, because we all know running open houses, especially when they're busy, they can be really difficult, especially when you're by yourself, of who do I talk to? Who's the person here that is going to be the best lead for all of this, and who should I really focus on? So when it's the neighbors, when it's homeowners, that's a really, really ideal time to be in there.
And that makes it an easier door knock too. Instead of saying, hey, have you ever had any thoughts of selling? It's, I'm here to invite you to an event. And it's a much softer invite. In addition to that, you can just leave information on the doorstep if they're not answering the door. But I think it's very worthwhile to get out there and door knock ahead of these open houses and identify the neighbors who might be either super curious or, ready to list. Heather, you get your hand up.
Yeah, to y'all's point, even making it a softer touch than, just walking up randomly to doors is, Chime has the ability to add Sly Broadcast in. And so you can grab all of the neighbors' contact information, either from your title company or whatever source you use, drop it into Chime, do a Sly Broadcast invitation where you're just dropping a voicemail, a ringless voicemail to everybody. Then you go and knock on the doors, and it's a lot softer. They've already gotten that message in theory.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different options with the slide dials and all that type of stuff. Most services, I think, I believe RedX and Vulcan 7, do they have a service like that as well? Yeah. You're muted.
I don't know if they drop voicemails, sorry, but they will allow you to get people's information.
Yeah. I was thinking some of those may have that service as well. Now, just not 100% certain on that. But yeah, I love that strategy. I mean, it's the more touches that you can get in to those neighbors, the more success that you're going to have. I mean, that goes into postcards and, doing the coming soon, just listed, just sold, you are trying to position yourself as the professional in that neighborhood to win an additional listing. Every listing that you have should bring you at least one additional buyer and at least one additional seller. I personally feel if you're not getting at least that off of your listing, you didn't do all the proper steps that you should have taken. And that was not, yes, the sale was a success without a doubt, but it wasn't an overall success because listings bring leads and you should be bringing in more business from the business that you currently have.
Which is why it's so important for us to be focusing on listings right now. Yes, buyers can be more immediately satisfying, but you do that and you're done. You're unemployed again. So listings are a real solid lead source. Anybody else have anything that's working well for them or that they're going to implement this summer and fall for listing generation?
I know we've got Charlie on here with the title company. How open are you to sharing information? As far as agents looking for all that info about the neighbors, that's something that is really valuable for you as a title company and to be able to, position yourself to work with more agents, I feel.
So that's funny you mentioned that. We've got a geofarming class event going on right now, basically giving the playbook of how to geofarm. And then we invested in software that we actually get the data that we can pop in that plan. All the realtor has to do is focus and show up and do the plan. That's it. We'll give the data. They just have to perform. That's it. And we will actually give them the playbook to do the geofarming. So that's actually our event sitting in the office right now. So,
so that the event is literally happening.
Yeah, it's literally happening right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, right now. So it's funny you guys are talking about this because that's exactly what we're doing is we're positioning ourselves right now to just create more opportunities for our real estate partners and for our loan officer partners. So that's what we're doing here at GCS. So
nice.
So
well, Charlie, the next one that you have, definitely let us know about that. I'm happy to post that on a few of our pages and get some traction for you.
Perfect.
Yeah, Charlie, as a member of the group, you're welcome to post that stuff within the group. We'd love to see that kind of information that brings value to our crew.
Awesome. This is our first run at this, so we just invested in this software, and we kind of did some legwork, and we partnered with I'll just say a real estate agent that wrote a book on geofarming. And we've got, like I said, we've got Remax, Advantage, Real, Compass, EXP. They're all sitting in here because they're all intrigued. We all have to do something. All of our numbers are down. We have to do something. So I don't know if I've never geofarmed in my life. I don't know much about it. So I'm learning on the fly as we go. but we pulled the data. The data seems to be good. We can get real specific and target strategically on what you guys want to hit. But that's kind of the route we're going with our partners and with our real estate agents. We've got to be in it together. So
Nice. Well, I think, and just like we were talking about the start of this, is it's the consistency with it. It's you do it once, you're probably not going to be successful. You consistently do it time and time again. And, it's one of these things that if you are geo farming, you are going after a particular area, there is multiple different ways that you should be showing up for those folks. Yes, should there be some direct mail that happens? Is there slide dials that can happen? Is there community events that can happen? If you do have a listing, it is that mega open house that you're doing. YouTube right now, I think there's a really big opportunity in YouTube and doing market updates. YouTube is one of the few platforms left out there that allows you to do advertising to a specific zip code. And that's pretty unique. So you can at least make sure, that neighborhood and beyond, depending on how big that zip code is. If it's a smaller one here in the Twin Cities, we've got some very small zip codes. You can literally target just that area and become that neighborhood expert. So I think it's a big opportunity. It's something that I'm currently looking into myself and would like to dive into that and see how that can work out.
There's a guy, David Caldwell, I believe he's in Portland or Seattle. And he does these YouTube targeted skippable ads. And he only has to pay for them when somebody watches, I believe, more than 30% of the ad or some sort of metric there. And he said it's just gold to be able to do it. Put it out there, be in front of people. And even if they're only watching 4 seconds of it, it's, hey, it's David Caldwell with XYZ Realty giving you your local real estate market update. People have a hard time clicking out of it before he says who he is. And so he becomes that guy who's everywhere. And I'm guilty of having this on my list of to-dos and I haven't done it. So that's a great thing to bring up, Joe.
I like that. That's pretty
and
cool.
So if anybody wants to see more on that, I would Google David Caldwell and see if, or check him out on YouTube and see if you can dig into any of that stuff. It's really good. He's a coach with Tom Ferry.
Writing his name down right now. What else do people got? Facebook neighborhood groups. I think that's a phenomenal spot. We try and work hard for our buyers. Working hard for our buyers can roll over into working hard for your sellers and showing sellers, your value and what you are willing to do and the steps you are willing to take. When you have a buyer looking in a specific neighborhood, if you can get into that neighborhood group and literally just post in there, hey, I have a client that is looking to purchase in this neighborhood. Do you happen to know anybody that is considering selling? Again, just being present, being out there, having your face seen and heard is wildly important.
Yeah, I would agree. And there's another wrinkle on that that's more old school that's worked for us, which is doing the yikes letter or the I have a buyer letter. The way I do it is with a felt tip marker. And you can also do it with a fine tip Sharpie. Handwrite a letter. Hey, I have a buyer looking in this neighborhood. You could even say their names are Bill and Sandy, and they are moving here from Ohio, and they are looking to be specifically in this neighborhood because their parents live nearby. Whatever it is, get specific with it, because if you don't have a buyer, don't write this letter. But if you have a buyer, make sure that the sellers in the neighborhood, the homeowners in the neighborhood know you're not trying to pull a fast one on them. You really have a buyer. We have one closing in September that was directly from one of these letters.
It's awesome.
So that's a great tactic. So I write it with a felt tip marker in my own handwriting, and then I will photocopy it onto our letterhead and then sign it. So I might sign it in a different color. Actually, no, I won't sign it in a different color, because at that point it's handwritten. If it's
Are
a
you
typed,
are you
if it's a
hand
typed
addressing?
letter, sign it in different color.
Are you hand addressing the envelopes as well?
Becca's hand addressing these envelopes.
Yeah, that's your open rate goes through the roof with those 100%. And we all know anytime you get something that is hand addressed to you, you're going to open it without a doubt. But yeah, there's some time involved in that. I've considered trying to find a, little old retired lady to hand address them or something like that, and pay her a quarter per envelope or whatever it may be, something anyway. But yeah, that's a task in itself when there's 100, 200 of those and going out to an entire neighborhood.
But you think about it, maybe you spend 2 hours doing it. That's 2 hours well spent if you get a listing.
It's very true.
And you might do it while you're watching TV or hanging out on the back deck, whatever it is, and you can multitask, maybe listen to a podcast or whatever you're doing while you're at it.
Yeah, very good. I like that. Has anybody gone after rentals?
No, so you're talking about non-owner occupieds.
Yeah, you could go on to Zillow, Craigslist, any of these places that rentals are listed for rent and reach directly out to the owners. They are an investor, you don't want to be looking at the ones that are listed by large, here in the Twin Cities, we've got Renters Warehouse. You wouldn't want to go after those because you're going to get a rep basically. But when you can see that it is a rent by owner, there's somebody that owns that property. Maybe they own a couple more, maybe they own 15 properties. There is a potential that 1 or 2 of their rental properties is possibly not going as well, and they may be looking to sell those. There's also the opportunity there that, hey, if I could find you another property just like this one, would you be interested in buying that? So, it's just as lead gen goes, when you are driving around on the streets and you see a for rent sign, stop, take a picture, or stop and just call the number and, have a conversation, see what you can find out.
That's great stuff.
For sale by owners too, those are always an opportunity there. I think the play with for sale by owners though is not to call to try to list their home. I think the play is to call to try to help them buy a new home and be that value. It's nobody's calling to say, hey, I understand you got your home for sale. That's awesome. Where do you plan on going? Can I help you find that home? You're offering something that's a little bit different, and hopefully that can then come back to maybe you getting that listing when it doesn't sell for sale by owner. Has anyone been successful for sale by owners? It's a route that I've never really taken on myself.
Nor have I. Anybody else?
I used to play with for sale by owners. Now I'm pretty much 100% repeat and referral, but I used to kind of joke around and do exactly what Joe was saying, is calling them and saying, hey, I see your home's for sale. I'm just curious. I'm betting you're not planning on living in your car afterwards. Where are you going?
Good. I like that.
I like that.
So I got a question, because I'm not a real estate agent. My question to you guys is do you guys, you guys obviously follow data. Is there a specific seller that is now looking to sell more frequently, or like a move up buyer, or you know what I'm saying? Like, where are the trends and where should this group here be focused and targeting?
I think the biggest opportunity right now for sellers and who we should be targeting. Now, Charlie, I want you to share this list with me though, and not anybody else. So, but I think the biggest group to be targeting right now is 2-story homes that have at least 50% equity, more like 60%. And if there is any bit, it depends on how much data you can sort by with the system that you have.
Let's just go with this. You can get real specific. So that's why I'm asking, because there's certain people that want to work with a certain group of like say first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, or wherever there's an opportunity. But I know that there is data behind this where there is more success.
It's the 55 plus community. They have massive amounts of equity. They're in a 2-story home and they're looking to downsize to something that's single level living. And interest rates are not as big of a deal with them, because oftentimes they're going to have their home paid off or mostly paid off. And if they are downsizing, they're possibly going to be paying cash. So there is a big opportunity there to talk to a lot of sellers and educate them on the process. And, you know, interest rates are what they are. When you can get around that and not have to deal with it, there's big opportunity there.
Yeah, and it's referred to as demographic farming rather than geographic farming. And so that is the segment right there, Joe. You nailed it. I like to look at it as, you know, anybody who's been in their home longer than 15 years likely has massive equity in their home. And a lot of times they're through that phase of life and don't need the two-story.
Yeah, but I think the 2-story is the one, if you really want to get specific, focusing on the 2 stories, because, you know, it's getting down to that single level living is, for me, if I were to be doing that demographic farming, that's the route I would go. And yeah, I love 15 years plus ownership. I mean, the amount of equity that they likely have is ridiculous at that point. So.
Yeah, Charlie, I'd love to talk with you about potential for generating lists.
Yeah, let's go. Say, you know, the for sale by owners, the for rent by owners, Airbnbs as well. You know, there's a lot of people that got into the Airbnb business here over the past, you know, 3 to 5 years, because that has absolutely blown up. But there's a lot of folks that are probably struggling with it, that thought they were going to just absolutely make a killing at it, but it has turned out to be far more work than they thought it was going to be. And it's maybe not bringing in the same amount of income that they thought it was going to be. There's a real possibility that they could be interested in selling.
Yeah, occupancy rates are way down from certain stories I've been seeing lately.
Yeah. Saving Charlie's info. What else do you got there, Austin?
You know, another good way to stir this up is to look at old leads. We've all got a bunch of old leads unless we're brand new to the business, and some of them never moved. They, for one reason or another, whether it's life getting in the way or dragging their feet or not able to get their home ready, and they're kicking themselves because they didn't sell and they're not where they want to be now. But they're also pretty fortunate in that their equity has continued to rise amazingly over the last 5-10 years. So I would go through your old leads. There's got to be a handful in there that are worth a call, and you can check it versus tax records and see if they indeed did move, and whether it was your problem that they didn't list with you.
Yeah, we've got a massive database, and I know there is absolute gold in our database. It's just a matter of sitting down and working it and making some phone calls. It takes time. I mean, just like any of these things, it's going to take time to do them, but there is a lot of opportunity in it. What is it? 30% of all buyers are sellers, something like that, at least.
I would think.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we've all generated leads at some point or another throughout our career. If not, you know, you want to work some of ours, I'm happy to let you work some of ours as well. We have a large database, and there is some really great opportunities in there.
Another one that I see as something that would be helpful is to look at life events. So people often think of life events like, you know, having a baby or, you know, kids are out of the house, whatever it is, as reasons to buy, but they're truly reasons to sell in a lot of ways as well. Let's say you've got a couple that you see on Facebook that they're having their second child, and you know they live in a townhome. Give them a buzz, see what they're up to, see how their place is suiting them, and do it gracefully, but you may well be able to list that townhome and get them going to someplace that fits them right. But at life events, you know, somebody just got married. They may each own a home. Let's sell one of them. So those are also things that are super helpful in identifying who are your next sellers.
Well, Heather, probate, that's one that I've always thought could be really interesting and just never really taken a deep look at myself. Can you explain a little bit of like what that process looks like as far as obtaining like a probate list, I believe is how it works?
Yeah, so I didn't get a probate list. I kind of fell into it just because, like I said, I'm kind of a repeat referral person. And so like my clients' parents will have passed. And so they'll bring me in, and then the word gets around and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just kind of grown from there. But You can also get into working with probate attorneys. Right. So just go introduce yourself, bring some coffee to the office kind of thing, probate attorneys. And you really have to show your value and let them know that you're not going to take over, like they will be your point of contact kind of thing, that they're going to be looped in all the way, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times they have relationships, so it's kind of hit or miss. It takes a lot of consistency if you're going to hit up the probate attorneys, but basically you need to be the one-stop shop. So a lot of times the heirs are not local. And so you need to be the one who says, okay, I will set up getting the stuff out of the house. I will set up having, the estate sale. I'll be the one to do all of this kind of stuff. I have contacts for movers. I've got contacts for people who will box everything up, all that kind of stuff. So have your list of contacts ready. It's not like you have to be there boxing the stuff yourself, but have the contacts ready to turn over that list to the family members who are taking care of it, because they've got a lot on their plate and they're dealing with grief as well. So you've got to be the solution.
And where do you obtain a probate list?
I don't have a list. I literally, it's just the word's gotten out over time. My clients have said, oh, Heather helped us when my parents passed. So they tell their friends and those friends tell their friends, and it just kind of gets around. So
Gotcha.
I've never gone out and gotten a list.
Gotcha. I was under the impression that it's like public information, that you are able to obtain a list either through county records or something along those lines, possibly.
Well, you can certainly, scour the obits if you want to, be that kind of person. But I think the easiest way is probably, if there's such a list, I don't know about it, but I mean, making the relationships with attorneys, probate attorneys, is probably the less, slimy way, because then there's an introduction. You're not going after, to me, right. Calling off of a list to grieving, folks is sort of slimy, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, and all right, here's an easy tip, I guess, too. If you are going to look for a probate attorney and you just Google them, maybe reach out to the ones with the lowest amount of reviews. Maybe they're the newest ones that don't have a bunch of agents that are reaching out to them already. Same with divorce attorneys and, bankruptcies even as well. I think there's definite possibilities there.
Divorce situations requires a special amount of finesse. You almost need to have the ability to write prescriptions, because you're having to deal with both the husband and the wife, who typically are not enjoying each other anymore. And so you've got to really split your attention. I've been through ones where I've literally had to negotiate child support because the attorneys would not deal with their clients anymore.
Oh.
Like, we were at the closing table and I had to print out this whole list of stuff and have them all sign it. It was pretty crazy. So yeah, it takes a special touch.
They've been my least favorite transactions that I've ever done, without a doubt. It's just, there's emotions run high when you're selling anyway, but man, when you get a divorce involved in there as well, it is tough. Those are really difficult transactions.
Oh yeah. And I don't drink, but there have been times where I'm like, okay, we're just going to do shots until y'all like shape up, because this is not okay. You guys are killing me.
There are some people who specialize in it. I know a couple of them, and they have both been divorced. So I think it does help to have been able to walk a mile in their shoes, and I'm not willing to get divorced in order to get that experience.
Same, yeah. But yeah, I love the, opportunity of working with different, lawyers and that type of thing. It's getting yourself better connected within different communities where there are listing opportunities anyway. So, digital farming, neighborhood farming, attorney farming, set yourself up to be that, voice, that person that is the expert that can help out, invite them to events, try and just make that connection with them. So I like that.
I've got two financial advisors that have referred business to me in the last couple of years as well. So they know when somebody's thinking about making a move. And if you're their go-to agent, you're very well set up to be the listing agent and their buyer's agent if everything falls in line.
Very good. Your personal database, of actual sellers, your past clients, your sphere of influence. CMA a day or 5 a week, or sit down on a day and do multiple of them. They're valuable. They're wildly valuable. There's so many different ways that you can do it. Tom Ferry has the whole thing of the text message of capturing the Zillow, the Zestimate, and saying, hey, Zillow has their opinion, I've got mine, you know, what do you think your home is worth? Something along those lines anyway.
Yeah.
Austin, Heather, do you get, I know you guys are more in the Tom Ferry community than I am. What is that route?
He's actually doing a training on it right after this class. So, but one of the things is you literally just go in your phone, look up your client's thing on Zillow, take a screenshot of it, put it in a text to them and say, hey, you can even do a video behind it, but you know, people don't tend to watch those, I've found. So you just put a text and say, hey, you know, I saw this on Zillow. They've got, I'm not sure what you think of this value. I've got my opinion. What are your thoughts? And you just start the conversation and people literally blow your phone up.
Love it.
Yep. And there's kind of a cousin to that, which was developed by the same guy, Jimmy Mackin, who he says that another good approach would be to say, if I were to sell my house at blank, or if I were to sell my house, I'd want blank for it. And somebody then is able to raise their hand and say, give a number for it. And if that number is reasonable, you may be on.
Even if it's not reasonable, it's a reason to have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And now you know, and now you have that for the future. And yeah, that's very good. I like that a lot. Let's see. How about matchmaking emails? This is something that, you know, we've dabbled in the past. We're now being consistent with it. But all the agents on my team are submitting essentially what their buyer needs are. And that matchmaking list, we have 2 different emails that go out. We have one that goes out to every real estate agent that we have that's in our database that says, hey, these are all of our buyer needs. You know, do you have any off-market listings? And then the better side of that is the one that goes out to our sphere, essentially. That's the one where I think you can pick up more listings because it's, hey, you know, we've got these buyers. This is what they're looking for. Do you have any friends, family, or would you consider moving yourself if, you know, you have this criteria, essentially? So
yeah, I saw one that you did recently and it was brilliant. It was clever. It was fun. I don't know if Maggie wrote it. Maggie, were you the driver behind that one?
No, I just put it together. Joe wrote all of it.
Okay, so Joe, sorry, you're clever. That was really good.
we did a little bit different, more than just, you know, I've got a buyer looking to buy in this area. I kind of gave a persona to each one of the buyers. Like, you know, we're looking for lake life living, or, you know, the move up buyer, we need more space for our dog, you know, whatever it may be. We just kind of gave a different persona, and it, I think, was a little bit more catchy. We got an immense amount of response from it. So I think it's just anytime you can be a little bit different and stand out, it's always good.
Yeah, and it has great value to a number of different segments of your sphere. First of all, it shows your clients that you're acting for them. Second, it shows people who have worked with you in the past that you're doing great and you're super busy. And then if somebody's not aware of you, they'll be looking at it going, wow, this guy is really hustling. So there are a lot of ways that type of email can benefit. And I actually sent it to Becca and I was like, we need to do this stuff. We haven't yet.
There's other stuff that you can do that's a little more nichey. So like me, I'm big into dog rescue. I have 6 of my own dogs. I've been rescuing for well over a decade. And so I'm constantly doing transport for the rescue, or I have a foster dog in the house. And so I do a lot of videos with that to promote the animal, right? And the group. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll put in my posts, you know, hey, if I'll put it on my business page and I'll say, hey, you got a dog problem like I do, need a bigger yard, give me a call, you know, that kind of thing. So, or I'll do a video of my dogs running around our acre yard and be like, is this nirvana to you? Give me a call, I can make that happen, right? So it's stuff like that, whatever your niche is, whatever little thing that you do, really kind of think of creative ways to pull that in, because that's your passion. And so you're going to really enjoy working with those people because they're your people. So,
Yeah. Do what you're passionate about. That's huge. I mean, it just, you are going to give, if you dive into what your passion is, you are going to earn business from it, from hosting events, being part of the community, just being that expert. And, you know, we've got, there's a gal on our team. She does, she's recently started doing gals that brunch. And that's been really actually successful for her. So she's running the Minnesota chapter of that. It's apparently a nationwide, possibly even worldwide type of a thing. And it's, you know, a group of women that get together and brunch together. And she's not there pitching her real estate services by any means, but, you know, that will come up at a certain point.
Yeah, that's cool. Anytime you can do a community event or a more widespread event like that, you're expanding your sphere. And if you can gracefully make sure that they understand what you do without banging them over the head with it, you're going to gain traction with them.
yeah, like back to that point, I did a picture of 5 of my dogs. I don't know how I got them to sit still, but I made little signs put around 2 of their necks, and it says, need to sell your dog house? Our mom can help. And it's a picture of all my dogs like sitting there in our backyard with these signs, and they're looking like, why is mom doing this to us? She's torturing us. But still, I mean, it got a ton of response because it was cute. You know, people were like, oh, dogs. So
Love it. How about home seller seminars? You know, if you are going after, especially if you're doing some of the demographic farming, I think that the people that are possibly the most out of touch and the most willing to show up to a seminar is that 55 plus community. Hosting them at a local community center, hosting them at a local library, somewhere that feels very safe for them to show up, I think is a really, really great opportunity. And, you know, these events should always be done with leverage involved, whether it is your title company or your lender or both, that they are there answering questions, helping out with advertising, putting some money behind it, making sure that you get some folks to sign up. Most community centers, you can rent out a room in them for very, very inexpensive. And same with libraries. I think a lot of times libraries, you just have to like put your name on a list and you can get a room for free, basically. And, you know, the folks that do show up to something like that, there's huge intent there. I mean, you want to talk about Zillow being the best opportunity for lead gen. I think anybody that shows up in person to an event about selling your home and the process of it, that's absolutely gold.
Yeah, I know there are people who are doing that at a high level and are successful with it. So that's worth looking at as well. My main fear with that is hosting one of those events and one person shows up. Now, it's still a connection with that one person, but you feel a little silly running a room at a community center and it's just you and that person.
Yeah, that can happen. There's, you know, that always can happen. So yeah, I think it's good to get invites, you know, for it, get that out there and get RSVPs, I guess is what I'm saying with that. And, you know, if you only have one, maybe you push off and, you know, push it off for another couple of weeks and see if you can get a few more people to show up. But I love the idea of doing seller seminars. There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot of education behind it. Personally, my wife owns a home staging and interior design company. I would love to be able to have her there to give a bit of a presentation on how home staging can affect the sale of your home and how beneficial it can be. It's, you know, how many people can you bring in that can present, give a 10 to 15 minute presentation? You get 3 or 4 different people in there between your lender, the agent, a stager, you know, maybe a photographer, maybe a videographer, and have them just each give their own little spiel on why it is. And each one of those things, because you're presenting on each of them, could hit a different demographic, different target audience, and somebody that is interested in each one of those, hopefully then bringing you more people in the door.
invite for sale by owners to those.
Boom. Love that. That's really great. Boy, I'm writing that one down. That's a really, that is gold right there. I like that.
Well,
Yeah.
all they want to do is get help, right? So that's
Right.
literally, it's like, how do I do this myself? Okay, we'll show them all the steps that it takes to sell a home in today's market. When, yeah, inventory is low, but in some areas like Austin, things aren't moving. I mean, literally stuff's sitting on the market 100 days plus, not moving. And so for sale by owners are sitting there thinking it's still a year and a half ago, going, what's going on? Right? So they're looking for help. Well, when you show them all the stuff that it takes and how much money it takes, you need the professional photography, you need professional staging, you need, title services, escrow opened, you need all this kind of stuff. Show them, hand them a stack of documents. Here's all the docs you might need in the sale of your home, and just print every single one of them out in your system and just hand them all to them, and be like, if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to call me. I do this every day. I've been doing it 17 years. Native
Does
Austinite.
anybody-
Just let me
does
know.
anybody have a for sale by owner guide? We
Kind of.
we have one that Josh Huglin actually shared it with me 2 or 3 years ago, and we kind of recreated it into our own. And it is a probably, Maggie, how many pages is that? It's probably 10 to 20 pages long.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust type of a presentation put together, and it's always been a deal of, hey, if you want to reach out to for sale by owners, you give this to them. Part of it, we're making it look as complicated as possible to sell your home, so they need us type of thing, but it is also giving really valuable information, and it is providing a lot of value to them. So
I'd break that up, Joe. I'd break that up and send it out weekly
I like
to
that.
them, so that you have more touches and are consistently providing value instead of just handing them one thing one time.
I like that a lot, because that's always kind of been where I was at, is all right, I send it to them once, follow up a week later, then what do I got?
Right. Well, and then the thing that you can do with that is you can actually do videos for each of those things, right? With a call to action. It's like, hey, interested in learning more? Click here, and then it goes to like a lead gen page on Chime or something like that. They fill out the information, they get that bit of information, that little tidbit.
Phenomenal. I really like that. And we've got several for sale by owner agents essentially in the Twin Cities, that's kind of their specialty. They'll list it on the MLS for them. So there are those folks out there as well. And there we go. There's another opportunity within our MLS anyway. There is non-exclusive listings. There is a lot of folks out there that are having them for sale with one of these FSBO agents that paid, $1,000 to put on the MLS, but that home's just sitting there. They need real true representation. They need real legit photography. They need real marketing to go along with it. So yeah, there's another opportunity.
Part of the data
Got to be careful there though.
Yeah.
It needs to be non-exclusive.
They are represented. And so one thing that somebody in my old office used to do is, Greg Lawrence is the guy who runs Home Avenue. And they would look up every one of Greg Lawrence's listings. And if he has an expired listing, it's somebody who might be soured on the whole hands-off approach. And those are good targeted expireds.
Love that.
You guys are allowed to do that? They won't let us look anything up by agent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not fair. So Austin's very weird. But another thing with that is I totally lost my train of thought. I had a really good nugget to share with you on that. Tell me what you're talking about again there, Joe.
What was it? For sale by owners and non-exclusive listings. Does that spark anything?
No, I'll think about it. I'll jump back in.
Austin, you got anything else? I'm kind of out of ideas. I'm spent.
I think we threw a lot of good stuff out there. Anybody want to share one thing that they're willing to jump into as a result of this call?
Yeah, what intrigued you? What is an idea that you want to take out of this and run with, and make an effort to get some listings out of? I love when we ask that question. Somebody always just quick leaves the room.
I'm intrigued by the lists. I bought a list through Chime early in the year for demographic farming. And the data was terrible. And I tried to get money back from them. And they were like, well, you can use the money in advertising to this list. I'm like, no, that's not what I want. So it was a couple $100 of money poorly spent. So I haven't gone back to Chime with that. I'm excited to have another source for this. I could have gone into Remind when we had Remind. So Charlie, I'll reach out to you. I'd love to lean on you a little bit for some demo farming lists. That could be a huge plus for potentially fall business this year, but more than likely spring business next year.
Yeah,
I
will say
remember
for-
what I was going to say, Joe.
Oh, let's go.
So including in the list of stuff that you provide to for sale by owners, the data from the annual home buyers and sellers guides, the National Association of Realtors, showing that, you know, yeah, the average agent can make, I think it's like 25% more than for sale by owners. And so if they're concerned, the majority of them are concerned about the 6%, right? Well, okay, so you're going to give up 6% in order to lose, you know, 19%? That makes total sense to me,
I love that data. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
say it in a less sarcastic way, but you know.
totally.
I was talking with a FSBO recently, and they got a lowball offer. And the buyer's response to that was, well, you're not paying a realtor. So both parties are trying to save money when they see a FSBO. The FSBO is obviously trying to save money, but the buyer looks at it and goes, well, you're not paying a realtor. You can go lower.
Right.
And
And then the other
when-
thing is you ask them, are you willing to cooperate if a realtor brings you a buyer? If they say yes, it's like, okay, that's fabulous. So you feel, you know, how familiar are you with buyer agency in whatever state you're in, right? Do you know that they are bound by law to only represent their buyer's interests? So you're going to be out there on your own negotiating against someone who does this for a living on the daily. How comfortable are you with our contracts?
Love it.
How comfortable are you with what actually has to be done to your home after inspection and what doesn't?
And how
Because a lot of times,
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, Austin,
And how certain
go
are
for it.
you? And how certain are you that you're going to be able to make more money in the end by doing this?
Right. The way I see it, you have 3 options and go into all the stuff.
Yeah, listen, I guess we've been listening to Phil Jones, right?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Phil is great. Well, awesome. Well, I think I'm going to dive into seller seminars. And that's a route that I think I'm really going to go after and see what I can do. See if I can maybe do some YouTube ads in my local community for those seller seminars and see what I can do on those.
You might do home buyer seminars too, because a lot of those people that have been in their homes for 20, 30 years haven't bought a home in 20, 30 years. And so their first step or concern might be, well, how the heck do I buy a home now?
Do you think that there's, is it too watered down if you do a like home buying / selling seminar? Or how do you pitch that it can be both?
I don't know. I usually would do it separately, and I actually have done mine on Zoom. I don't, because I started doing that during COVID. So I threw in, so my background's in molecular biology. So I threw in, how do we do this safely during COVID, right? Because people were moving everywhere. And so I still do mine on Zoom because, to be honest, I prefer not to be in front of people. So.
Well, I'm thinking of going the route of the demographic farming, of going for the transitioning folks to single level living or into, assisted living or something along those lines. Anyway.
Well, a lot of people show up to the Zoom stuff because they don't physically have to go anywhere and they can hop off whenever they want.
Yeah.
But in order to get the Zoom information, the link, they have to register. Right. So you run less risk of having one human being show up.
I just had another good idea when Joe mentioned assisted living. If you can develop relationships with people who are running those buildings or running the sales for those buildings, and as part of their their conversation with these people who are planning to move into these facilities. Hey, do you have a home to sell? That certainly could be something that works well.
I've got a buddy at KW that he does pop-bys to all of the assisted living type of thing, and has made friends with all the front desk folks, and there's a stack of his business cards sitting there.
Smart.
Yep, they have a whole elder services division of their business essentially, and they've done very well with it. They've been very successful, and it's been consistent business for them over time. So, again, consistency. We talked about at the beginning, any of this stuff can work. It's about being consistent. Don't just do it once, do it over and over again, and you will see success with it. Well, that's all I got for today. We'll knock this one down about 8 or 9 minutes early and give everyone a little bit of their day back, and we'll see you all in a few weeks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.
All right. See ya.